are we? My good friends. Alright, so I've been mentioning this film. Excuse me. I've been mentioning this film for like 2 years. Because I worked at that florist shop in Darien, Connecticut, in which this film that I knew the notoriety, the lore about, but I'd never watched. Didn't even watch the original. But because of the social commentary of where I was working, which is why they filmed it there, I had to watch it first. I had to get the biggest fucking laugh I could out of it. And you know what? It's not like, it's a comedy. It's a very abstract comedy, right? It's an interesting conversation about gender in this film, and it like straight, like, I can't tell you how accurate that film used to be. Working there, it's just like those women that are like that in that film are still there. But you actually kind of see all of that, and then like the way it even ends is also the way that it is. Right? I mean, it's like that, but it's less like that. And I think the film is kind of a story about that process, right? So, okay, so we're talking about it's not like, and like, I'll say this much: I do not agree with the things that are ignored and left unsaid in the film, because it's just a kind of a gnarly kind of situation, right? Like, so let me set you up over here with the movie called The Stepford Wives, remake of 2004, starring Nicole Kidman, Matthew Broderick, I think Glenn Close, and Christopher Walken. Christopher Walken's in it, and it immediately made me love the film. So a 2004 year, movie. This is like an executive boss bitch, right? Executive boss bitch of a major all-women's television network. Has a reality competition show about lust and desire, and the TV show specifically sets up a woman's sexual fantasies against a man's sexual fantasies, and then tests their faithfulness to each other. And this is the show. And it's making a certain commentary about, I think, what Generation X had matured itself into after 9/11, right? Gen X came into full maturity after 9/11, and we're taking over the social stratum in different angles. And then for 20 years, we had things that we loved and things that we hated about it, right? Depending on which generation of X of those years of people like us. Because I'm X. I'm a cusper, but I'm X. Fuck, I barely do millennial fucking habits. And I'm irritated by the way that millennials like stuff versus the way that I like stuff, when we like the same fucking stuff from that same fucking period of time, right? I just can't. I can't do it. I can't do it. And I think it makes sense. I got a buddy. I used to have a buddy. We don't really talk much anymore. Volatility. He's an okay guy. He's a good guy. I got nothing bad to say about him. He's born several months after me. He's a few months younger than me. He's way more millennial than I am. Way more millennial. to the point where I found it almost weird that he was going with all these trends. It makes more sense to me now because of what's going on with men in that culture. That's why I deep down inside, I said, there's something that we ought not to be doing as men here. I deep down inside said that, right? It's just like, I have the absolute, like, certain things for women, but that doesn't mean men have to, like, be this way, right? And I'm not gonna get into details because those details have changed since then anyway. Not important. What is important is I make that point just to say, like, just the perspective of outsiders looking in at different things that people have done. 2004, I was 24 in 2004, so there was a lot to fucking say about the people around me in that film living in the town that's just on the other side. And one scene in that film was shot in the town I am driving in right the fuck now, because I recognized it as the original town hall, which is still there and used by the Department of Education. But they use that building as the front of the town hall of Stepford, which was mostly shot in like North Greenwich and Darien. And it shows, I'm surrounded by some of them as we speak. It's hysterical to me. But anyway, so she's this high executive bitch, and the guy in the promo for the show lost his wife at the end of the show. And his life became miserable, and all of this over petty carnal desires. And he murdered his wife and all of the lovers from the show that were still with her, and then he tried to murder her and all of the women in the theater that were having their annual conference talking about their plans for the next season of the show. So she's fired, and her husband, who was like a secondary executive in the company or something, like basically like a second in command position, he quits because unquestionably loyal to her, in fact. Like, she wakes up from her because she goes through, like, Nicole Kidman's playing this part. She did some awesome acting where I see it in her fucking eyes as she kind of goes from her cognitive understanding of how things work and what it means that all this shit happened to forces outside of her control about her product had devastating circumstances, and she has to contain composure in the office, and she has to hold this fucking face, and yeah, I was just like, ooh, I know, I've seen women who have been there, and I've been there as a dude, and I've seen dudes who have been there. That's good acting, right? So Nicole Kidman's, ever since The Northman, I'm always gonna be cool with Nicole Kidman, because wow, she was a good fucking dragon mother. Woo-hoo! But anyway, and good dawn to you, Henry. I appreciate the sentiment of having a blessed day in what you think you mean by it. I just want to educate you, as per my pleasure, that around here, instead of blessing people, we bestow them with things. We bestow good graces and excellent days and so on and so forth. Because it's better to bestow than to be less in the bliss of the abyss. But thank you. I don't know why people can't just fucking say it like that and everybody's got to play each other's heads off. I don't get it. I don't get it. It's okay. It's okay, baby steps, people. Baby steps. But anyway, so she gets a cushy package deal either way, and she moves to the most expensive realty in the fucking universe. She goes to a fucking upper middle class fucking town in Connecticut. Anyway, so they show up and basically get sucked into the cult of the Homeowners Association. I don't remember if that's her exact title, but the first person they meet after the establishment shot of Matthew Broderick driving her around and she's passed out because she's exhausted from having a nervous breakdown and such. And they do have kids, by the way, so kids are a slight factor in this. So, they meet your first Stepford wife, and if you don't understand the concept of the Stepford Wives, because the Stepford Wives, after the original show, kind of became a meme in the culture before we understood what a meme was. People would just look at someone in the way they dressed and acted as a woman, especially with the way they would keep their men, or their men would keep them, and say that she's a Stepford wife, meaning that she acts in a particular way, right. This movie basically demonstrates to you some of the right-hand path cults of light, right? You know, right-hand path stuff, if they're going to sell light, they're going to be light, to the point where where don't you ever fucking smile, don't you ever fucking frown? Don't you ever fucking frown? Don't you ever make your husband feel like they did something fucking wrong, ever? Right? Everything is framed in the context, right? And so they live these homes because they also happen to be expensive and everything else. It's a 21st century home. It's full of digital security systems. There's a robot dog, and this is the height of fucking this is the height of the post 9/11 American economy, where they're really fucking turning the screws on it to the underclass, and creating a new kind of sexual, shallow, vanity-driven youth of a new upper class of very wealthy and powerful young people, right? And there's old people too, and everything else. But all of them, they do nothing, absolutely nothing, but housekeeper. Absolutely, and beyond a thought, not having any other personal whatever. Everything is in the service to the town itself and to the pleasure of their husbands. And they are all they're all Carpathian white people, with the exception of Bette Midler and John Lovitz. I hate Bette Midler, but she was very cool in this film. And John Lovitz is fucking John Lovitz. With the exception of Mike, who we'll talk about in a second, and who's Christopher Walken, and Matthew Broderick's character, the husband of Nicole Kidman. The men are very, very background in this story, and most of the women are background. Glenn Close's character is an important character that we're going to talk about, because that's Mike's wife. Anyway, this all sounds like it's bullshit that's not worth anybody's time, and hopefully I get to a point where it makes sense. I got about a little over 15 minutes if I think I can fucking dilly-dally in the parking lot. So my point is cult of the right-hand path kind of stuff, right? Where it's and in the introductions to Stepford, Connecticut, aka Darien, and North Greenwich, North Stamford too, I suppose, but North Stamford is not even half as nice as Darien altogether, and North Greenwich. Greenwich overall is great, right? High class stuff, but like I live with the peasants. Anyway, so it's 2004. So back then, you know, you're making a liberal Hollywood movie. There's a certain Hollywood expectation. There's not a chance in hell this kind of world of the housewife submissivist is you know, is going to be the conspiracy of a woman, right? This is like like I gotta mention spoilers. Okay, we're done spoiling. Most people know that like I'm not here to fucking talk about a film in a spoiler-free way. I need to talk about shit that I need to talk about on a level where it's all spoilers or nothing at all. I have a spoiled mouth and it'll speak as it pleases. So the whole program is basically a secret agenda that serves a function in the world. So here's the reveal, so I can start really talking about the circumstances of Stepford that matter, right? Okay. So this town is established by a ridiculously powerful and wealthy scientist, neurosurgeon. Like, she's a woman, like, I don't know, she's in her 60s or something like that. This is Glenn Close's character, right? Whatever age the Madame Close was when the film was done. Uno momento, por favor. Thank you. All right. And so she's crushing it in her field, and she's neglecting her husband. Her husband cheats on her with her own assistant, and so she I forget what she did to both of them, but she then proceeds to make a robot of a perfect man who would sell her company and do all the things so she could be a housewife. She builds a man so she could be a housewife using her fucking skills. And then he takes care of everything else. He's built to run the company that is secretly her. Like, people don't understand what it is about a woman behind a fucking powerful man and the real fucking power. And so this structure, Glenn Close is playing a dragon mother. Christopher Walken, this robot that's her lover, is also her son, right? Because she made him. She's in the depths of a narcissism by which female spawn evil, right? This is how a woman becomes a portal for evil to come into this world. They get the delusion of grandeur of all the men around me suck. I will exploit a genetic specimen to make the perfect man, right? Here we're taking that to a transhumanist end. Now the women aren't turned into robots or the female gay men. In the 2004 version, the effeminate man in the relationship gets turned into a fucking... He gets turned into a masculine homosexual. It's hysterical because there's a gay couple in the show, and the gay dude who's effeminate, he gets put in the machine to be the Stepford husband to his husband or boyfriend. It was 2004. I'm not quite sure if we had gay marriage. Like, you know, at some point Connecticut got keen on gay marriage, so like you can be married in Connecticut. So Stepford is a test run for this company who the robot started with the chick's target market, which was all of these okay guys, like, I guess they're like hardworking guys or whatever, decent dudes, they just don't have, but you know, they don't have wives that appreciate them, right? And so they get roped into the town to be assimilated into this as a cult. And like, so the robot is guiding all of the fucking dudes, and the dudes aren't robots. They're not. They're actually just dudes, but they get the remote control to the chicks. The chicks go through a process where they get a chip put in their head, and they feel no pain, I guess. And I think that maybe there's some upgrade to their skin that makes it resistant to damages or something. And I think some of them are more mechanical than others, because one chick is a walking ATM who spits, you know, cash out her mouth and shit like that, right? And so they're trying to convert Matthew into one of them, to agree to put his wife through this process, to sneak her into it, because, you know, that's what the town is doing on a usual cultural level with the with just collectivization. You know, do what people do here in the town. Our town has a style. Everybody has a particular way of dressing, and yada yada yada. And that particular way of dressing, you know, it's a stereo. Like, they all wear sundresses, I think they call them, right? Those big blouse thingies. You know, it's all 1950s. You know, women don't wear pants, right? And no black at all. Everything is bright and shiny and flowery. And so there's no specific wardrobe, but there's an aesthetic that is an insult not to fucking wear in their town, right? Now, my time being there, they don't fucking, like, I guess if you're a welcome outsider, they don't make a thing of it. But I would imagine, like, you have to have enough, like, power, I suppose, right? Because I'm talking about how this is based on the real culture that was adjacent to where I grew up. I didn't have to live in their world, but I did get to be an amused observer of the culture, and you know, there's there's no cult that I can imagine. You know, it's something where you'd have to be on the inside, right? So there's things in the movie I didn't see. Like, I have no idea what the camaraderie of the men is like. And I'm only seeing the public face of the ladies, right? There is a certain imagination, like these ladies, they are stuck, like, men and women to a certain degree have their own ways that they will be the same person forever, right? And I've definitely not been the same person. Granted, I've changed in hardcore, I need to upgrade, my life is pain ways, right? A lot of people, they don't go through that, especially because they chose the path of least resistance, because they never put themselves through pain. And hang on a second. There's traffic. There's no room. Sorry about that. This fucking asshole's like, which way you going, buddy? And I'm just like, I'm just trying to give you room to pull the fuck out. Sitting there almost fucking rear-ended a guy. Anyway, it's getting hot in here now. It's gonna be a cold day, but it's hot. Ugh, freaking cranked up the heater to do this show. But anyway, so I was making an important point about the culture and the cult and everything else. So this movie goes between the extremes with the women, right? It's basically, it's showing you two extremes of a woman's narcissism in reality. There's the left-wing elitist narcissist and the right-wing elitist narcissist, right? You know, and the right-wing one is the super trad who is really a fucking queen of the domain over there, right? It's a different look at the power of a woman in a place, right? You know, there's you know, the movie is trying to strike a certain kind of balance, but I think it does it poorly, because it really only is a story that serves a conversation for the kinds of people from a place like where near to I live. Like right now, I am straight up half a mile from Darien. This place is on the Stanford-Darien border. This warehouse I work at. That's how you know, that's how close this stuff goes. So it's ultimately looking at the polarization of society along the female line in particular. It doesn't really give us you know, because the men are like, all the men involved are a bunch of like computer nerd type of people, right? So they're gonna cultivate the technological paradise for the women, right? To make sure that all those modern conveniences are modernized and like, so you make a new fucking thing that does stuff a new way and eliminates something that somebody wants to do in the domestic front, like, these ladies are all for it, right? So it's going into a very easy kind of work because most of it's automated. Um, you know, or it's ultra simple and human and necessary, like the cooking, and like getting stuff in a laundry machine or whatever. Like there's bits and pieces of that's basic work, but then everything else is so fucking convenient, and including taking all the stress off of the kids, right? So it's showing you how that extreme works, but it's missing something. But it also really doesn't tell you what it's missing. It's telling you a small part of what is missing. This film is shallow in a different way, right? Because it's looking at two different shallows, and then it's like it's okay in the end, but it ultimately ignores like the human issue. There's never going back to what she was doing in the beginning of the film that was a toxic trait that she was projecting on television. Like there's never like an I feel guilty moment for all the shit that happens, right? This movie avoids that altogether. And I think that's one of the things that makes this film bad, and probably why it didn't do too well, is that it opens up with this horrific act to establish the plot, but then they never bring you back to a resolve of conscience, right? So this is two sides of narcissistic women with no conscience being portrayed, and men that don't care if a woman has a conscience. She just has to fit the fucking bill of the perfect wife. And that's what this movie's about, right? And this is talking about how it stems culture, because they also then make the very, very common obvious point that that you can take one of these people and make them an elected official. They had the gay guy run for office, openly gay, but you know, the man of the relationship. And you'll notice that the only gay guys that seem to win politics are the masculine gay guys, right? Anyway, I gotta get going. I didn't even get a chance to smoke. All right, I'll catch you guys later. And I'll probably have a more coherent thought on this on my lunch break, probably.